So one of the approach is known as top to down approach of the synthesis of the nanomaterial. So dear student, the top to down approach of the synthesis of the nanomaterial is a process in which a bulk of the material is miniaturized. Okay, so basically an integral of the material in top to down approach is chopped or is cut into a very small pieces, and then it is converted into a nanomaterial. Okay, basically the term top to down approach in nanotechnology mean a breaking of a bulk material or miniaturization of a bulk material into a very small nanometric scale. Okay, so let's give an example, or let's explain top to down approach of the nanomaterial synthesis by a schematic diagram. Dear student, consider this is a bulk material. Okay, bulk material is a material which is easily observable with a naked eyes. Okay, so dear student, in top to bottom approach, this bulk material is converted into a fragment. Okay, and these fragments are the small parts which are also observable or further cut down into a very small parts and small nanostructures, and by chopping them into and these nanostructures or these materials are in the range of 100 to 1 to 100 nanometer. So in a summary, basically in top to down approach, a bulk of the material which is an integral material, which is visible material, is converted into small fragments, and these fragments are also visible. However, with further processing, with further crushing, these fragments are converted into very small structures or material, and these materials are not observable with naked eyes, and these materials are known as nanomaterials, or their structure is in the range, or their size is in the range of 1 to 100 nanometer. So dear student, in a simple word, top to bottom approach is an approach of conversion of a bulk integral material into a very small nanostructures or nanomaterial which are not observable with naked eyes. Okay, so another approach of synthesis of nanomaterial is known as bottom up approach of the nanomaterials. Okay, so nanomaterials or nanoparticle are synthesized from very small atomic scale, and then they are basically converted into a nanometric scale. So the term bottom up approach mean a conversion of the small atoms into atom or molecules into a comprehensive nanomaterials. So in bottom up approach, with a chemical reactions, okay, the materials which are basically the ions, are in the form of ions or atoms or molecules, are combined, and then they are converted into a nanomaterial. So dear student, the bottom up approach is referred to building up of a material. Basically, this approach, the bottom up approach, mean building up of a material from a bottom. Okay, so the material in bottom up approach is built from a bottom, atom by atom, or molecule by molecule, or ion by ion, and then they basically form a cluster and convert it into a nanomaterial. This bottom up approach can be explained on the basis of schematic diagram. Okay, so the student, in bottom up approach, the material are in the form of atom or ion or molecules. Okay, these ions or molecules or atoms, basically they combine and they convert into a wide range of very small material known as clusters. Okay, these student, clusters are the combination of the atoms or molecules. Okay, so these atoms or molecules in bottom up approach are fused and they are converted into clusters. Okay, so there are different ways through which these very small atoms and ions are converted into clusters in nanotechnology. Basically, the atoms and ions of the materials in bottom up approach, they nucleate and they basically coalesce and they basically interact and they collide with each other and they basically form a cluster of the material. Okay, and with further processing, basically these clusters of the material, whose size is less than the nanometer, basically they combine, they nucleate, and with the nucleation the other clusters, like if this is a one part of the, this is the one cluster, with the nucleation one of the cluster will act as a nuclei and the other part of the cluster will interact with this cluster, and with this they basically combine. Okay, and due to the combination of the cluster they are basically converted into a nanostructure. Okay, dear student, so in bottom up approach, the atoms which are present in a form or which are produced due to their chemical reactions, they combine and they are converted into a cluster. Okay, and with further processing these clusters combine and they are converted into a comprehensive comprehensive nanostructures. So dear student, this is the part 1 of the lecture of the synthesis, about synthesis of the nanomaterial and thin film. So in next part 2 I will briefly explain about the top to down approach of the synthesis of the nanomaterial, and in this way I will further explain in next few lecture about the bottom up approaches of the synthesis of the nanomaterial. So this is all about our today's lecture. So thank you for watching part 1 of the lecture of the about the synthesis of nanomaterial and fabrication of thin film.